Hi and welcome. This week I'm reviewing the Royal Enfield Meteor 350 and I was pleasantly surprised. This is really quite a user-friendly motorcycle. It has usable power, good torque, and certainly is very suitable for a learner or someone just getting into motorcycling. The bike is fitted with a 349cc single-cylinder, single overhead cam, 4-stroke engine, which is air and oil cooled. Maximum power is 20.2 brake horsepower at 6,100 RPM with maximum torque of 27 Newton meters at 4,000 RPM. Now, I found the engine to actually be quite torquey. You actually don't have to rev it that much to get off the line. It has a good spread of power right from fairly low RPM right up to close to the red line. Because the bike isn't fitted with a tacho, it's actually rather hard to tell where that red line is, but certainly the bike runs out of power, I suspect, before you get anywhere near that red line. That power is transmitted via a 5-speed gearbox and a chain drive to the rear wheel. Now, the 5-speed gearbox certainly does change gears well. The gear change is quite light, though I did find the heel and toe gear change, because this is actually a cruiser style motorcycle. It's a feet forward or a semi feet forward motorcycle. I did find, because I'm not really used to this sort of cruiser, that the heel and toe changes were actually quite difficult. And you couldn't get the tip of your boot, of your left-hand boot, underneath the gear change if you wanted to use a traditional gear change method, because your foot or leg is so far forward, it was actually rather hard to get your toe underneath that gear change lever. But after a while I got used to the heel and towing, and certainly once you get used to it, it's certainly an easy and relaxed way to change gears. The clutch is light, so that also assists in that regard. Suspension wise, we've got conventional 41mm non-adjustable forks up front and twin shocks on the back, which are only adjustable for preload. So you can actually stiffen them up if you want to carry luggage or put a pillion on the back. Now, I found the suspension to be quite compliant. It certainly suits the performance and weight of the motorcycle, particularly around town and on good to medium rough roads. When you get into the really bad potholed roads, you do find the suspension does have a bit of a hard time keeping the ride smooth over that sort of terrain, but on most of the roads you're likely to encounter around town, the suspension actually is really quite comfortable. And I think part of that comfort level also comes from the fact that the bike is fitted with a really comfortable seat. The seat actually is well padded and has good width and is certainly very comfortable. There's also a pinion seat on the back, so you can carry a pinion if you so desire. Braking wise, we've got a 300mm disc on the front with a 2-piston sliding caliper, and on the back we've got a 270mm disc with a single piston sliding caliper. Now, the brakes certainly match the performance characteristics of this bike. I found the braking to be smooth and progressive. You do need to use a fairly firm pressure on the front brake lever to pull up smartly, but certainly it's more than a match for the performance characteristics of the bike. And combined with the dual channel ABS, the braking system is certainly very confidence-inspiring to the novice rider. Now, the bike is fitted with alloy wheels at both ends and carries tubeless tyres. The front is a 190/19 and the rear is a 140/70/17. Now, you'd think with a 19-inch front wheel that the steering would actually be a little bit slow, but it's not. Because of the steering geometry and no doubt the lighter weight of the motorcycle, this bike is actually quite nimble in the corners. The bike is fitted with a twin down tube spine frame and the overall weight is 191 kilograms. The bike has a 1400mm wheelbase and the seat height is just 765mm. Now, the seat is really quite low and certainly suited to riders of smaller stature. And I'd certainly say that as a learner motorcycle, this would be quite a confidence-inspiring entry into the world of motorcycling. On the road, I found that the optimum speeds for this motorcycle were really between 60 and 80 kilometres per hour. That really is its sweet spot. It really enjoys being within those speed ranges. Everything seems to come together within those speed range. The braking and the suspension certainly match and sort of fit perfectly when you're travelling between those speeds. The bike will go faster. You can get it up over 100 kilometres per hour, and certainly you can sit on the freeway at 100 kilometres per hour, but only if there's no incline or you don't have a headwind. If you've got a hill that you have to go up, you will find that the bike will probably go back to 80, 90 kilometres per hour. But in reality, this bike really isn't a touring motorcycle. It's a bike really for around town and for enjoyment. I mean, yes, you can take it up the country and you can certainly have a good time, but you're really going to be on B roads, certainly not on the highways and freeways on this particular motorcycle. I mean, you can do it, but you're not really going to enjoy the experience that much. But once you get into the smaller country roads, you really will enjoy the handling and braking and performance characteristics of this motorcycle. It's actually quite a pleasure to punt around corners. And of course, around town, it's lightweight and nimble handling. It's just perfect when you want to zip in and out of traffic and you want to go down to a cafe for lunch and a coffee on a nice fine afternoon. You know, something like this is just perfect. And being a Royal Enfield, you know, it does have a bit of street cred because Royal Enfield is an established name that's been around for a long time. And certainly this is one of their finest small motorcycles that they've produced to date. I think the DNA from this motorcycle really does come from the new 650 Interceptor. There's certainly similarities in the engine layout to that. It's just a single as opposed to a parallel twin, but you can sort of see there's certainly a family resemblance between the two. And there's certainly an element of that in the way it delivers its power too. So who is this motorcycle targeted towards? I think it's targeted towards two groups. It's targeted towards new riders particularly, in that really it's a non-threatening motorcycle and it is really quite easy to ride. The controls are light and certainly the power delivery is non-threatening. The other sort of rider I think it is targeting is those people who really want an inexpensive motorcycle that has a bit of a presence, and certainly it has a bit of a presence, who would like the easy ergonomics of a cruiser and really want a motorcycle as a bit of weekend fun to hit the beach or the cafes or just go up the country to a winery or, you know, a bit of a quiet country ride on a weekend on a nice day. Now, the fit and finish of this motorcycle is really quite good for the price. The paintwork on the tank is really nice. The blacked out engine looks a treat. And all the little detail fittings are actually of quite high quality. Sure, it's not going to be the same quality as a $30,000 or $40,000 motorcycle, but it comes pretty close. The switchgear is really good and modern. The only odd thing I found with the switchgear was that the starter button has moved from its traditional place underneath the right hand grip to be incorporated with the kill switch on top. And I'll tell you, that took me a little while to find that out. The instruments are quite interesting. We have a single speedo on the left which has an inset LCD display which gives you your fuel level, has a gear indicator and a clock, and underneath that is the odometer. And at the bottom we have some lights which give you such things as neutral, an ABS warning and an engine warning light. But the icing on the cake is a little display off to the right. Royal Enfield have partnered with Google Maps to produce an app that allows you to display directional information on that display while you're riding. And there's also a USB port so you can charge your phone. Now the bike comes in 3 different models. The Fireball, of which this is one. This is the red Fireball. There's also a yellow Fireball, and above that we have the Stella in Stella Blue, Stella Red and Stella Black. And at the top of the range we have the Supernova, which has a little bit more bling on it, and that comes in Supernova Brown and Supernova Blue. The prices for these are, the Fireball is $7,690 right away in Australia. The Stella is $7,990 right away in Australia, and the Supernova is $8,390 right away in Australia. So overall, these represent really good value for money. Well, that's about it for this particular review, and I'd like to thank A1 Motorcycles in Melbourne, Australia for loaning me the Royal Enfield Meteor 350. I'll catch you next time.